we'll start, I think, with the next session. So please stay here. It will be interesting. We will have an interesting look abroad to Israel. And just to make sure, like Kevin already mentioned it, we will have that workshop in the workshop area, and it starts at 11:50. So if you're interested in that, please join. As I mentioned, we will take now a look a bit further away to Israel and take a closer look at the Israelian Digital Finance Ecosystem by also taking into account the InsurTechs. So it is my pleasure to welcome Dikla Wagner on stage, who is the head of tech scouting of
Hi, everyone.
MunichRE Assurance and the founder of her own InsurTech community, and who will share her insights with us. So I think I'm very curious. I think our participants are very curious what you will share with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the one who stayed here. Hi, everyone. Thank you, the BitCon, for inviting us. My name is Dikla Wagner. I'm head of tech scouting for MunichRE in Israel. I arrived today with a group of super talented CEO and co-founders. You will see them on stage. You will meet them in the exhibition, and we're looking forward to exchange with you. So a bit about myself. I'm a lawyer. I'm an economist. I've been part of the Israeli entrepreneurship for the past 15 years. So in startup terms, it's already an old lady. I was a CEO and co-founder of startup. I led a VC in Israel. And in the last 4 years, I've been representing MunichRE. So my role in Israel is really to bring innovation, investments, opportunities from Israel to MunichRE, to our client insurance companies around the world, and to our subsidiaries. In addition to that, I'm also volunteering as the chairman of the Israeli InsurTech Alliance. The Israeli InsurTech Alliance is a non-profit organization, pro bono, with one goal: to promote innovation and insurance, and to promote the Israeli InsurTechs. What we're trying to do is two things. One, to exchange knowledge from Israel outside and vice versa, and also to facilitate a discussion, open discussion between the stakeholder in the insurance industry. So regulator, startup, and of course the traditional player. Please raise your hand if you met an Israeli startup before. Okay. So Israel is considered to be a startup nation. And it's really a question, how is it possible that Israel, that it's so small, it's a country with no natural resources, in continuous war situation, how is it possible that it's generating more startup per capita than well-established countries like Japan, like Korea? And the answer really relies on the culture. So it's really risk-taking culture, a failure tolerance approach, and of course the Israeli Defense Force, it's a mandatory service, so it's also nourishing these cultures. So this is a bit about Israel as a whole. On my way here, I actually sat next to an American investor who just visited Israel, and he met cyber and mobility company, and he told me, you know, Dikla, most of the Israeli startups that I met are targeting the US. And it makes a lot of sense, right? The market size, the scalability. But really, today I'm here with you, and we have a common task: to expose the opportunity that Israeli startup has with Germany. So really, the Israeli dream is not really the American dream like it traditionally is the German dream. So we're really looking to explore this opportunity, and the startups that are here already explore and doing great business in Europe. So the Israeli fintech, this is the Israeli fintech. Last year, we raised $4.5 billion. This is 20% of all investments in Israeli startup. It really means that there is a lot of belief in this segment. It also means that it has the potential to become an economic engine for Israel. Of course, the 4.5 is really thanks to mega round. So Milo, if you know, $250 million, Rapid, $300 million. And this is a great slide by MunichRE. So InsurTech is a subcategory inside FinTech. And we really look at the evolvement of the InsurTech with 3 waves. So the first one is the one that you know, the Lemonade, the Hippo of the world, they're trying to disrupt the entire value chain, really to remove the customer friction, right? The second wave is the enabler, technology that enable carrier to do a better underwriting, a better claim management, better analytics, and really to reduce the cost, to improve user experience. Third wave is the embedded, which you'll probably heard a lot in this conference, and also the ecosystem. So ecosystem really refer to one-stop shop, right? You buy your bike, you sell your bike, you fix your bike, you got insurance for the bike at the same place. One-stop shop. And embedded, of course, you already know. So we took those waves and we actually looked into the Israeli InsurTech ecosystem. This is what happened in Israel last year. So we have around 100 insurance startups. 28 of them raised $1.6 billion. And we divided it according to business of line. We divided it according to the amount, and of course the wave that you just discussed. So here you can see that we have something special. We have fourth category. We have the full stack. We have the MGA, which is in the red, the first wave. Second wave, enabler, augmented underwriting, claim management analytic. Third wave, which is the marketplaces. And the fourth, which is very unique for Israel, it's risk mitigation. And we included here startups that are not part of the fintech. They're not part of the InsurTech ecosystem. They're part of other ecosystem. So let's think of Industry 4.0, mobility, cyber, companies that have no clue that they're relevant for financial institution. But actually the data and the insight that they're gathering can be valuable for the value chain. So we also included them, and this is something very unique for Israel. Oh, my last slide. Okay. Trend and opportunity that you can find in Israel, I have to say those are global trends, but the Israeli startup really found a way to navigate through them and to shine. And the first one will be the MGA and full stack. MGA, for the one of you who's not aware of this, MGA is managing general agent. It means that you can sell insurance on behalf of primary insurance that stand behind you, give you capacity. You can do underwriting, sometimes claim management on behalf of the primary insurance. And this is a great model. And the Israeli market was really influenced by what happened in the capital market. So what happened to the big InsurTech, the traded one, the American one, the Lemonade of the world, the Hippo of the world. Before they went IPO and when they went IPO, there was big excitement from this model. We got much more MGAs in Israel. VC were interested to invest in this model because they saw the success of going IPO. Entrepreneurs were inspired by this story because they saw the success of the entrepreneurs. And therefore, we got a lot more MGAs in Israel. What happened this year, when the share price was cut in 80%, we saw that investor had limited appetite. Primary insurance also had limited appetite. They already had experience. They already saw the underwriting result. And therefore, the startup really had to decide what to do. And the Israeli startup were so clever to very fast find additional business. Either they pivot, right, from selling insurance to selling technology to insurance company for the enabler one. You remember? It was the second wave. From being the one that sells the insurance to sell services to insurance companies, so leveraging the technology, or either they did both. And I think that really the Israeli market was very fast at understanding the market dynamic and working according to it. So second trend is the marketplace that we already discussed. Israel traditionally had less marketplaces. I think we saw a lot of success of marketplaces in the US, in Europe. Israeli were very good at deep tech and less on the marketplace. But the Israeli really understand the market dynamic. They understand this is where we're heading. And they decided to play it differently. So either they join marketplaces as provider. So for example, a carrier that is opening a marketplace of his own, or other players that are opening marketplace of their own. So they become a provider in those marketplaces. On the other side, we saw startups that are offering mini marketplace of their own. So for example, if they sell cyber insurance, they will add pen testing, protection software, post-event recovery services, and so on. So additional service beyond the core offering. Third trend, and this is a cool one, is new risk. Life is changing, risks are changing, cyber threat, climate change, digital assets that we know, crypto will be discussed here today, NFT. Customers aware of the value that they're holding, and they want to protect it. And it's a good question. How do you assess the new risk? And the company that we'll see here on the stage addressed exactly this. Spott, Connected Insurance, InsurTechs, will show you how they address new risk. It's really, you need a lot of data, a lot of insight, a lot of special sauce in order to understand the risk, quantify the risk, price the risk. And the traditional method will not apply here. So this is something that the Israeli startup are also very strong at. And a lot of it is from the intelligence force that I told you, the ability to gather unique data sets like GeoX will show us with satellite imagery. How do we leverage unique data sources to bring value to the value chain of insurance? Last but not least, before you get rid of me, beyond risk taking. So as an industry, and I think it's going not only for the insurance industry, also for the bank. We're moving from a model of risk transfer to risk mitigation. We're leaving aside the passive underwriting, we're moving to active underwriting. That means that we want to lower the risk. We want to predict it, prevent it when we can. And for that, we need to leverage technology. So sensors is a big thing. Gathering data is a big thing. All the buzzwords that you know, big data, machine learning, AI, to leverage all of that in order to understand better the risk, predict it, and prevent it. And when there is less losses, there is more demand for prevention technology. Preventing technology, and this is exactly, you remember we talked about the startup that are not part of the InsurTech ecosystem. They're in the industry 4.0, mobility, cyber, protection solution become a real need for all industries. And the Israeli really has a great ecosystem and sensors and technology and data sets and so on to leverage this trend. So when is really the best time to innovate? And when is the best time to do it with Israeli startup and not be stuck with Square? It's right now. Thank you so much. We're active in all media. Please reach out and we will love to talk.